Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. As you start coming on in, I'm going to get my Substack chat and everything going so I can see all of you. Good afternoon. I know it's not my normal show time. Here we are. It looks like we're starting to go live. Hello, everyone. Welcome as you start coming on in. Good afternoon. Normally, I don't do afternoon shows like this, but hey, how's everyone doing? I had a really nice long show with Will Fullwood this morning, deconstructing racial prejudices and how I've grown up and my life in general and where I am now and how come and how I've gotten to be anti-racist as positively as I can be. So that show notes and post show will be out here soon. After this show, I'll be working on it. And hello, everyone, as you start coming on in. Hey, bees. I see Kim, Pat, Bambi, Sloan, Anna, Joel, a bunch of people starting to come on in. It's good to see everyone this afternoon. Today, we're going to be doing something slightly different and get away from some of the politics overtly. And so we're going to start talking through poetic verse. And I'm going to read some poetry today. And I'm going to read some of my own poetry. And I'm going to read some of one of our friends and one of the folks in our community, one of my new poet friends with us, been in the community for a long time, is B's Free Verse, True Verse. And so I'm going to read some of the poetry that I love from them as well. And so I hope you all enjoy some poetry reading. Then open for questions after I read each poem and we can talk about them. This is just going to be a little more free form than we've done for some of our, pardon me as the dogs go off. What's behind the what's behind me? Oh, in my background, like up around me. Those are rotating stars. Hold on. It's moving flag, or behind me in the background is just moving stars. And what's behind the bookcase? Yeah, those are rotating stars, Pat. But yeah, welcome everyone. So yeah, we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna read some of my poetry, like I was saying, but I'm also gonna read some of uh, B's free verse, true verse poetry today as well. I've picked out three poems that I like and I wanted to read. And then I'm going to post them in our post show notes as audio clips. So B has them, and everyone else also has them too. So I hope you all enjoy. I'm going to be pulling up the poems here as we go from my side. And actually, these three are going to be our good ones. Maybe. Is I'm going to pull up some of the ones that I have. Those will be good short ones. Yeah, those will be good ones. So I have some on my side that I'm going to read. I've got 5 short ones and short poems, and so I have a couple haikus and some sonnets, and then I've got B's free verse. So I'm gonna start with B's poems, or at least one of them. This way I have a good idea of where they are in the show and the post notes. And so I will post links as well, for each poem that I'm going to read in the chat. Um, and so what I'm going to do is first, I'm going to read a couple of mine from the set that I haven't read aloud yet. It's called a Journey of Morality. And they're grouping so far of five poems. Sorry. They're grouping so far of five poems that I've done. And then I'll intersperse throughout with B. Actually, I'll start with B's and then I'll get into mine. So let's get into it. A little bit of rambling. Sorry, it's early afternoon. Did a nice 2-hour show with Will Fullwood. And so just a little tired. Okay, so I'm going to start with B's. She has 3 poems that I'm going to do. I'm going to start, I believe this one's the oldest of the 3. It was published on May 14th of this year. It is called Air of Supremacy. And so what I'm going to do before I get into this one is I'm going to, just so everybody knows, there's going to be maybe some small pauses too. Read it already. I will. I'm getting there. There's going to be some small pauses when I introduce the poem, just so that I can get it clipped well for the post show. So here we go. Air of Supremacy, a poem by B's free verse, true verse. White men, you breathe it in, supremacy, like air owed to you, inherited, unquestioned. The patriarchy crowned you, the center named your voice the voice. And so you speak without listening, stand without doubt, command, because no one taught you how to ask. But hear this, the comfort you clutch is pulling you under, a pride propped on white women's silence. Still, we believe you can heal, but not while you drown in poison and call it legacy. Will you swim or sink sweetly into ancestral myths that told you you never had to try? Beneath the noise, your soul remembers a truth unlearned. Depth, not dominance. Presence, not power. You were made for more than myth. Are you ready to meet yourself at last? That was An Air of Supremacy by B's Free Verse, True Verse, published on May 14th, 2025. So I read this poem not too long ago, and I will drop the link here in the chat. And again, I will make sure that this is going to be linked in the post show notes. That one is about us white men. Good thing the dogs waited to do that until after the reading. And so B, I hope you like that one. Being read aloud, I really like that poem. It hits home because it's on us. We as white men, we can go past the myth of supremacy, the myth of poison and violence and the need to dominate, if we just let ourselves. Like, it's okay. We can be more than that fake supremacy that's made for domination and nothing else, and is made to hold people back. It holds us back as men, and it holds everybody else back around us, because we're not able to just ask ourselves basic questions and basic reflection. And this is a really important um, important thing that we as men have to confront and be willing to open up about, um, and be willing to tear down the myth actively. Um, like, we'll take this week, I spoke with Walter Ryan and Bob Dana, or Bob Dana, sorry. And Walter opened up on a really powerful story. And it was really heartfelt, and it was really hard to hear through the story. It was Walter opened and showed what it means to be authentically emotionally masculine, and what it means to be vulnerable and willing to share. And that's something men, we don't have to run away from. It's okay that we feel those feelings. It's okay that we talk about those things. It's okay that um, it's okay that we accept um, that we don't have to dominate. It's okay that we can just be power without be present, and the presence, not the power. Like B says, depth, not dominance, presence, not power. We can have more to us than domination. It's easy to have more to us than domination too. All you have to do is say, I'm willing to grow. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to listen to learn and not listen to respond. That way you're open, your ears are available, you're ready to hear, you're ready to think, you're ready to slow down, and that's okay. And men, you don't have to isolate yourselves on purpose and make ourselves lonely, because the male loneliness epidemic tied to white supremacy, which this poem is about, is is all intermingled. The loneliness epidemic is fueled to make you angry, is to make you think you need to dominate rather than emote or have feelings, to repress and regress your emotions rather than express and feel and progress your emotions or your emotional understanding. It's okay to progress forward with your emotions by learning from them. Um, so, yeah, there's some, like B says, there's so many sides to each of us. Why voluntarily limit ourselves? Yeah, there's no reason to limit yourself. Be yourself. Be who you are. Be who you want to be. Be the person that you know you can be, and don't limit it to domination and hatred, because that's silly. And that doesn't really get anybody anywhere. So, and it just causes more pain. So let's move past the air of supremacy so that we can start breaking down those systems without calling ourselves evil and blaming ourselves all of the time, so that we can learn and grow from them. So we're going to move on to our next poem too, which I'm going to do is also B's free verse, true verse poem, called Rising Through the Shadows. Um, and I'm excited to do this one. This is going to be fun. Okay, so same as before, quick break. And I am so excited for this one. Oh, let me drop the link into the Substack chat for anybody who wants to go and take a look at the poem while we're reading through. Please remember to like and share all of B's poems too. They're really awesome. Make sure you subscribe, and that way you can get notified when new poems come out, and help each other. I just subscribed because I didn't realize I wasn't already. So, Bees, I'm now a free subscriber for you. Please come and help support Bees free verse, true verse also. So here's our next poem, Rising Through the Shadows. Bees free verse, true verse. America has gone dark. It's people both grieving and angry, as those in power turn their backs on allies, embracing the ideologies of dictators, walking beside the specters of the past, old ghosts wearing new faces, imperialism and white supremacy. A hush falls over the streets, a breath held, strange and suspended. Within the quiet that comes in nightmares, just before the ground tilts and the world you once knew folds sideways into the unrecognizable. Neighbors speak in low voices, as though afraid the air itself might be listening, fearful that truth has become a negotiable thing, a shape shifting currency traded in backrooms for power or favor. Fangs, heavy a Fangs hang heavy in the air, drained of color, as if the cloth could sense a country sleepwalking into its oldest shadows. They sag like weary soldiers trapped in an endless battle. But beneath the dreamlike dread, beneath the long, slow drift towards something darker, a low rumble stirs the quiet. In living rooms, on crowded trains, in lines curling around polling stations, a murmur rises, slow and gathering like a storm tide. We remember who we are. We remember what is owed to one another. We remember the weight of freedom and the fire of responsibility. Darkness does not own this country, it only tests it. And somewhere beneath the grief, beneath the anger, beneath the long shadow of betrayal, a flicker remains, small and defiant, refusing to go out. That was Rising Through the Shadows. And if you aren't a subscriber of B's Free Verse True Verse already, you really should be. That was a really powerful poem called Rising Through the Shadows. Bees wrote or published this on December 9th, 2025. And wow, you really need to write more and keep writing, Bees. This is your poetry is beautiful. And that was really, really strong. We remember who we are. We remember what is owed to one another. We remember the weight of freedom and the fire of responsibility. We can we can remember and we can do those things now. Not only do we remember, but we act on who we are. We act on what is owed to one another, and we act on the weight of freedom and the fire of responsibility, which means you need to have courage. You need to be like Shane Urich, a firebrand. You need to hold that torch and run forward with it. You need to be a light for others when there is no light. We are a small, defiant flicker that refuses to go out, and the light of freedom and the weight of freedom never goes out if it remains in at least one small, defiant heart that refuses to give up into fascism and darkness and destruction. Don't let fear and anger rule you just because you're afraid. Don't let it rule you. You have courage. You can take those small steps. We can take them together and know that you're not alone when you take those steps, because we know who we are and we know what is owed to one another, and we know the weight of freedom and the weight that comes with the fires of responsibility. We know that we have to act peacefully, patriotically, and stand defiantly and hold our values strong. So, Bees, this was an incredible poem. Thank you for writing this. And again, I will link this in the show note. You nailed it. What a great poem. Thank you for sharing that with all of us and letting me read these aloud. Thank you for the permission to do that. And I hope you enjoy the recordings of them after. Um, And then I'm going to finally read my third one from B's Free Verse, True Verse is the Politics of Optics. And I'm excited to read this one aloud to everyone. Again, it'll get shared in the show notes. And this is so much fun to get to read other folks' poetry and get to bring it to life. So if anybody else writes poetry and is putting it out there and wants to have poetry written or read aloud, let me know. I'd be happy to. This is fun. I get to this is this is better than talking about the bullshit that's going on right now without some beauty. So thank you, B, for bringing some joy and beauty for us today. Um, so this will be the final of the 3 poems from B that I have. And again, the title for this poem is The Politics of Optics by B's Free Verse, True Verse. They tell us it's just politics, a shift, a season, a necessary restructuring. Don't worry, stay calm, carry on. But the signs glare like warning flares, the dismantling of democracy, the cooling of freedoms, the quiet funneling of wealth into greedy, corrupt hands, resources stripped from earth and people only to be locked away, corporate walls stacking higher as oversight dissolves into mist. Safety nets fray to threads while armed, masked men are unleashed into neighborhoods to keep order. Punitive laws stripped through chambers like knives sheathed in paperwork. Old alliances are shunned, new enemies courted, all under the banner of stability. A nation doesn't fall in one blow. It leans, then lists, then learns to call its shackles security. Authoritarianism arrives, not roaring but rehearsed, riding in on polished slogans while freedoms are mislabeled as threats. They'll call it optics, a matter of angles, a framing of perspective, but we feel the narrowing, the tightening, the dark seams stitching shut what once was allowed room to think, question, breathe. We know what it is to watch a country dim itself inside its own shadows. And we know this too. Nations may fall quietly, but they rise only when their people refuse to stay silent. That was The Politics of Optics by B's Free Verse, True Verse, written or published on December 11th, 2025. B, again, really amazing poetry. Um, it's this one is this one's really straightforward, really evocative of exactly what's going on right now. Um, I imagined when I read it that I was reading a part of 1984, and that I was sitting there with the Big Brother cameras all around, hoping that I had this poem in a corner where it couldn't be viewed, written down on a piece of paper, saying it to myself, hoping that again my thought wasn't being seen. That's what it feels like. It fits the moment, and it ends on that really high note of nations may fall quietly, but they rise only when their people refuse to stay silent. We live in a country where the First Amendment to our Constitution, to our Bill of Rights, is the freedom of speech, the freedom to push back against the government, to push back against tyranny and fascism and tyrants in general, but monarchs and wannabe dictators and assholes who are just trying to create a throne where there should be none. We don't have to stay silent. We we can we can rise together. I like that you use the word rise in there because rise is a acronym that I am trying to get out there also, which is we need to reclaim integrity, service, and ethics. And to do that, we cannot stay silent. We must get more vocal. We must be more willing to stand up in our actual daily lives on everyday small occurrences to say no actively to white nationalism and white supremacy and these supremacy mindsets and the destruction of our democracy. So we don't have to live in shackles of thought police and mind police and social credit scores and being fed less and less freedom and propaganda and told that our ideas of freedom were always a lie and that slavery is or freedom is slavery and that truth is a lie. We don't have to live in a post-truth world. That's an option. They're making it so that we think it's a post-truth. We don't have to. We can live better than the 1984 that this poem brought me to. So thank you, B, for these three amazing poems. And I'm excited to put them in the show notes and boost them and get them out there for other people. This has been so crazy. Yeah. And Linda, welcome. I'm glad you joined today and listen to the poetry. It's been good to be able to read this, and I'm glad you're enjoying yourself and that you found a new home for poetry. Um, and B, uh, I'm glad that I felt sort of the same exact thing that you did for 1984 in that one, in that last one for the politics of optics, and it was just it read like it, and so I now that I know that you got that was what you felt. It really came out. So really good job. I really like that poem, and I'm glad I got to read it today. Now we're going to shift into some poems that I have written. B's B has some longer poems than I do. Um, for these ones anyways, but I'm going to do a full set of poems here that are a little bit shorter. So I'm not going to stop between all of them, just so that I can um, get through them in their order. That one might not fit. So I'll also do some other ones depending on how much time we have at the end. Um, so I have a set of four poems, not five, that I'm going to do right now, which are from the Journey of Morality series that I'm writing. Oh, these ones were fun. That's why I like these ones. Okay, so majority of these ones are actually haikus. Um, Three out of the four are haikus. The fourth one is a sonnet, a Shakespearean style sonnet with 14 lines um, and broken down into standard Shakespearean style. However, my first three are, like I said, are haikus. The second one is a triple haiku. So it's three haikus on top of with each other, um, mostly because I had a really good thought idea that I wanted to bring through more than just a single haiku statement. Um, and so I wrote a triplet in the middle. So we're going to start with these poems here. So the first poem is A Rotting Pack by Nick Paro. United we stand, divided, pack eats itself, rotting from within. The second poem is Rabid with Hate This we shall defend, while they spit on me and mine, pack circles its own. This we must support, while they stamp out homeless vets, rabid with their hate. This we will rebuild, while they cut off all our care, chew off their own leg. Third poem is Feral Fools. Fomenting fake fear, frothing, foaming feral fools, forgetting freedoms. And poem number 4, A Feature, Not a Bug. The hate is a feature, never a bug, built by design meant to poison the mind, indoctrinate the youth, fear as a drug, living online, make empathy go blind. The hate is systemic. Within they rot, abusiveness sapping away from life, radicalized on rage. It's what they're taught. Grievance galore, retribution and strife. The hate is on purpose, made to inflame, pouring on gas while holding a lit match, set to burn it all down, having no shame, self-made victims sitting in the same hatch. The hate is in the feature, the true design, only meant to divide. It's the baseline. And that is the current set of Journey of Morality poems that I've written. And those ones are around some of the things that have been going on a few weeks ago, or now a couple months ago, I guess. These are from September, when Russia had first started invading the Polish airspace with drones, and SCOTUS had reauthorized ICE to being able to do racial and ethnic profiling. As well as Charlie Kirk had just been assassinated. There was a secondary school shooting on the same day in Colorado. And I put that first one out of United We Stand, Divided Pack Eats Itself, Rotting from Within, to express the old adage of United We Stand, Divided We Fall. And I thought that one fit the moment. And I still think it does, is we have to be a united peoples to make a more perfect union. And to do that, we have to be willing to learn and let go of the hates of the past. And so right now we're sick. We have a wound that needs healing to be abscised to allow the whole to heal. We're sick. We have a wound needing to be abscised to finally progress past the hatred of the past. And so this one started the pack mentality, of which got into the triplet of haikus, which was the rabid with hate, which was right around the time that Brian Kilmeade decided to, on national TV, advocate for euthanizing and or just murdering the homeless. And like the day after or the weekend after, 2 homeless camps were shot up in the country. I think they were both in Minnesota. There was a Black man hung in, I believe it was Mississippi. And then another homeless man hung on the same day. And they were rabid with this hatred that they've been told they must do. And they must just, you get told to that the homeless don't deserve life and that they should be euthanized. Well, then the next day, the homeless get shot up. There's a correlation. There is a causation there. Somebody said it, and then it happened. And in this case, Brian Kilmeade on national TV, on Fox News, on one of the most watched shows in the country, said, euthanize the homeless, just kill them all. Well, some of those homeless are also veterans. If more than one of them is, and you want to kill them all, you're gonna kill veterans. You're gonna kill people who are just trying to survive is really it. That's the end of it, is you're trying to kill, they're trying to get rid of and euthanize those of us who are on the fringes, those who need the most help, because we cost money. Because to them, it's a business. They see the government as a business, so we cost money. I have a disability. I'm a disabled person. I cost money. I cost federal dollars. I cost tax dollars to help keep alive. I use the VA system. Like, federal tax dollars go to help support me. I have a social health care system, and I'm happy. I'm able to function and live in a great life because of the system that I have, and everybody should have that. But they're attacking those who need those systems because it costs a little bit of money. Because government's a service and not a business, and services aren't meant to make money. So it costs money to keep humans alive. And economically speaking, the data proves throughout all of history that if you put money into a person, you get more in return back. You get it's like for every dollar you invest in a person, especially for food and housing security, you get $1.50 back. You make 50 cents back per dollar. So you get it and more. So financially speaking, even from a business, that would be a good investment. But the government's a service, and it's supposed to help people, and services aren't expected to make money. They're expected to be a collective gathering of our wealth and our minds and our resources to help all of us, rather than eating our own, spitting at me and mine, calling for the death of homeless people, of marginalized communities, of veterans, of anyone who is not this perfect little Barbie and Ken dolls, basically, is the best I can say. And I hate to say that about Barbie and Ken, because I don't think they were ever intended to be looked at as white supremacists. I think, from what I remember about the history of Barbie, is it was made for someone's daughter. It was for a kid, and it's been turned into this ideal of everything that's wrong, and they want to stamp out all of us who are different from that. So that was Rabid with Hate. And then Feral Fools was, I got alliterative, and I was like, and I started thinking about it. And so this one was Fomenting Fake Fears, Frothing, Foaming, Feral Fools, Forgetting Freedoms. And I'm really glad I wrote this one and read it today as well, because it fits really well too with the Politics of Optics from B's Free Verse, True Verse. And it fits into that idea of forgetting freedoms and letting your freedom go for a false sense of security, and accepting that you have to be restricted in order to feel safe. And the only way they do that is they make up fear. They other people. They turn people into an enemy. And we're doing the opposite here. Our goal is not to do that. Our goal is to remind people that people are people and go forward, and make a better America where people actually want to be, make a better states, make a better country, make a better world just in general, by eliminating the hate. We get rid of the fake fear. We're creating fears to divide, not us specifically, but the billionaires, or the billionaires, are creating fear to divide us. They're making things up. That's why they use white supremacy. It's because they make white men specifically afraid of so many things that they would rather give up their freedom to feel safe by squashing others through dominance. And that's fake fear. And you're a fool if you follow it. And so we're not going to forget our freedoms. We're going to continue advocating for them. That's why I really enjoy getting to do poetry and reading poetry like this. This has been really fun. I'm glad we did this today. Um, and then finally, my last one was a feature, not a bug. And this one is the sonnet that I can quickly read again too, but it came out right. I wrote this one as a response right after the quote unquote young Republicans club got in America. They had their signal chat leaked, and it was just systemic racism and rape culture and dominance culture. And it was gross. And these people aren't children, they're adults that are, these are the, these are the current generation of Republican staffers, of Republican young leadership groups for colleges, for there was a state Republican Party leader in this group. So these aren't children that made disgusting, repulsive online comments in a group that they knew if they came out. And this is the part that we need to keep hitting at, is they know they're wrong. They know what they are saying is garbage and it's trash and it's intolerable. They know it because they even say, if this ever comes out, we'll be in a lot of trouble. They know it. So we need to shame them. We need to shame the ideas, not the personalities, or not the personhood of these individuals, but the ideas. We need to shame the ideas of them and separate their personalities from their ideologies so that they're not so wrapped in hatred and disgusting, vile bullshit, because the hate is a feature, never a bug. Built by design, meant to poison the mind, indoctrinate the youth, fear as a drug, living online, make empathy go blind. The hate is systemic, within they rot, abusiveness sapping away from life, radicalized on rage, it's what they're taught, grievance galore, retribution and strife. The hate is on purpose, made to inflame, pouring on gas while holding a lit match, set to burn it all down, having no shame, self-made victims sitting in the same hatch. The hate is the feature, the true design, only meant to divide. It's the baseline. It's the baseline for all of this. The hate, we have to confront it. We have to stop giving it a pass too. Like, we've gone far enough as a society, we've lived long enough as a country, we've come forward enough in our views and our ideas that we don't need to buy into the hate anymore. It's old, it's a waste, it's not good, it's poison. It's poisonous. It's meant to burn things down. It does not have a view of the future. All it is meant to tear down and to make angry. And there's easier other paths. Like, we don't even need to think about going down those shitty ass paths and the shitty path that we're going on. Like, but what it takes is all of us actively pushing against it. Is you have to actively confront this in your life, in your family, in yourself. You have to be willing to learn and not judge yourself so negatively. Don't think yourself evil if you have had a hateful thought or a racist thought in the past, or even a misogynistic or whatever. You have to let go of those. You have to remember, unless you're acting upon your thoughts, and if unless you're having them all the time and those are the only fucking things you think, then you probably need to go talk to somebody. If, like, you live in a world where you blame everybody else for everything, then just go to therapy, especially men. But It's okay to have thoughts, but you have to be willing to evaluate yourself, the thought itself, without blaming yourself for the thought happening. It would be like going an innocuous thought that we can go off of is let's say I'm desperate and I don't have any money and then I need to decide, is it food or gas? So I go buy gas. Well, I think to myself on the way to the gas station, I'm gonna go rob a bank today. But I don't go rob the bank. That's an intrusive, that's a stupid thought, but I don't judge myself for having that thought. And then the next time that thought pops into my head, I'm much quicker and much more likely to go, I don't even need to think this thought and just let it go. You think thousands and thousands and thousands of thoughts that you never act on all of the time, every single day. Let some of them just go by that you've held on to that are holding you back. It's those thoughts tend to be around hatred and anger and divisiveness. So, great way to do it is maybe read some poetry and or listen to some poetry and enjoy yourself and relax and stop thinking you have to dominate everything or dominate conversations or start with that at home. If you love to talk and you like to talk over people, stop and think for just 1 second before you start speaking in the middle of a conversation and just hold for a second. Don't dominate. Give space for others to be able to talk, to be able to think, to be able to interact, and then you'll find you get space in return. And that's what we need. We need to create space, but we don't have to open ourselves to hatred and radicalization and divisive views. You can push those away. I am not saying that if you have someone in your life who is refusing to see that what's going on is really as bad as it is and it's very willing to continue to promote it, you don't have to keep that person in your life. You can set a boundary with them and you can tell them, hey, I'm not going to see you again until you're willing to, or you're not going to see my kids again until you're willing to get over this view and you leave. If it's a situation you can. I understand you can't always do that. However, we have to start actively doing it in our lives and be willing to confront small cases of it every single day. Because all of those small cases of confronting the hatred and the division that's going on right now, every time we take a small, courageous step and say, hey, that's wrong, or hey, don't do that, or you police somebody in your life who says something stupid and you say, hey, I'm not going to tolerate that. If you're going to continue to speak like that, I leave. And if they do, you leave. You stick to your word, you stick to your guns. That takes courage. It also shows authority. It shows moral authority. And when you stick to your guns and they're unwilling to stick to yours, in a culture built on supremacy, white supremacy specifically, these folks respond to authority. You have made yourself a moral or ethical authority when you stand on your values and you put your foot down and you refuse to bend when destructive things come your way. And if you put someone out of your life and say, hey, unless you're willing to apologize and never do that again, or unless you're willing to speak to me like a person or whatever your red line is, put a red line down, mark it, mark a red line, not in the sand, but cut a red line in a piece of wood, basically. Make a solid red line. Make a solid line that you are willing to and will put your foot down, say today. It takes a small act too. Simple red lines. Have moral fortitude and courage because the more you do it, the easier it becomes. the easier it becomes, the more often you do it. And then everyone else around you has a permission structure to do the same. And I bet you if you stand up and say no at a time when you think you have the power and privilege to do so, and somebody does something stupid, you're going to find a lot of people, if you're in a room that's more than just you and one other person, you're going to find a lot of people find what you did the right thing and they'll join in too. So, small acts of courage lead to big acts because courage is contagious. Um, and so, I want to make sure that we all know that courage is contagious. Make sure you have some. Go put you're going to be uncomfortable, um, but it's okay. Like B's free verse, true verse in Air of Supremacy. We have to confront this. We can be more than the dominance. We can be more than just power. We can be depth and we can be presence. And to do that, you have to stand on your feet and say, yeah, no, I'm not going to fall into shitty, ugly traps. Or I'm not going to stand on that disgusting value system that is abhorrent and tears people down. Have depth, have willingness to stand for your values too. Start putting out content for yourself. Write, journal, write it down so that you know that you're thinking about it in some way, and then do it. Doesn't have to be big for your first act of courage. I'm afraid every time I come on these screens and all these interviews and stand here and talk and put out content, it scares me to do that. It scares me to do all these things because it's nerve wracking. I don't know if people are going to like what I have to say. Um, I don't know if people will like the content I put out, but I put it out anyway, knowing that the content I'm doing, at least I'm putting content out that has a moral footing and a solid ground of understanding that people are people and that we deserve real freedoms. And when I say we, I mean all of us deserve real freedoms, not just people who look kind of like me. Um, and that's going to bring me, I'm going to read one more poem just because I really like this one. Is I wrote this one, and this one is one more of joy, and awakening and being part of the world you live in and being present. I wrote this poem before I get into it. I wrote this poem after my son broke his arm a couple months ago now. I was on a live with Ellie Leonard and Zev Shalev going over some things about the Epstein files when I got the news on air that my son had broken his arm. And so we went through a whole rigmarole. We're still working on paying off the debt for that. And then I woke up the next morning after after I put out a note saying, hey, we could use some help. I never asked for help in the way that I did. And there was an outpouring of love and an outpouring of thought and positive reinforcement towards me and towards my family. And I woke up that next morning really early. And I went and sat outside and I got to see the sunrise. I sat with my cup of coffee. It was in August, so it was really nice and late. It was the end of August, so it was a really nice morning. I was just sitting out on my patio drinking a cup of coffee pre-dawn, and I got to sit and watch the entire sunrise. And I wrote each of the stanzas on a part of the sunrise as it was happening. And it was really cool. It was like a Bob Ross painting, just like streaks painting across the sky. And this was my thank you to everyone who supports me, and gave me the love and gave my son and our family the love that um, we needed right then. And this was a thank you back to everyone. And so I haven't read it in a while. So I wanted to read it again to close out our show today. Um, and I will include all of the poems that were read today in the show notes, links to them. Like I said, I will try and also be so the show notes may not come out for a little while because I've got to pull some audio. As I'm going to pull out the audios for some of the clips on each of B's free verse, true verse poems, so that we have some isolated versions there. Um, and I may do the same for my poems throughout it. But this one just wanted to give you all a goodbye with the dawning of the light, and um, so sit back for this one. Sit back, close your eyes, imagine yourself sitting outside on a patio or sitting outside on your front porch or your back porch somewhere. It's quiet, no cars. You're sitting near a meadow. You have open grass and you have trees, and you're just before the sun has peeked over the horizon, so everything is still dark and you're still looking up at the lights. So here's my poem, Dawning of the Light. Awakened in the dawning of the light, gazing at stars still shining softly bright, casting gently down twinkling sighs of love, seeing a new day sweep in from above. Painted soft clouds streaking across the sky, brushing pinks and grays, a new day is nigh, shading orange, purple, strokes of indigo too, softly violet trails off into a day so new. Layered yellows and reds overlapping in waves, drops of gray trailing off into notes on the staves, conducting songs of life as the night retreats, pulsing chirps collide into cascading beats, showering down into glowing rays of gold, echoing grateful hopes into a world so bold. That was Dawning of the Light, and like I said, was sunrise the day after my son had broken his arm, and everybody in the audience and community showed an outpouring of love towards my family and my son. And he has made a full recovery since then. He does have a weird little bump on his arm, where the bone broke. He got very lucky that it only broke where it did. He fractured both bones in his forearm instead of breaking his wrist and his collarbone and dislocating his shoulder. Any of that, he only broke two bones. And he's growing, so he'll grow out of it. And everyone gave such love, and that's the type of community that we can create together, and we can continue building, and we are continuing to build. And it's not we are building it. We are doing these things. We are coming together. We are going to defeat fascism with an outpouring of creativity and love and compassion and empathy, but we're going to guard it well, and we're going to give it to those who deserve it. It's okay to guard your empathy. It's okay to remove your empathy from people. It's okay to give empathy to people that you weren't expecting to give empathy to. Let people learn when the time comes, and then continue to teach them, because we're all needed in this one. Like this is all of us coming together on this, and we can do it. We can take, and we can reclaim, and we can rescue integrity. We can rescue and reclaim service, and we can rescue and reclaim ethics in this country. Doesn't need to be owned by right wing propaganda or fascism or Christo fascism or white supremacy or just hate in general and othering. We it's it's easier to love, and we just need to make love and enjoyment and empathy an experience people want to do. And it's easy to do that when we give them the choice and the opportunity once they're willing to accept, but they have to be able to do it too. So put your foot down, hold yourself strong, hold yourself with compassion, hold yourself with um, a moral center that is strong and growing. And do not let your moral center and your moral values be corrupted by stupid ideas that you know to be wrong. And then hold the people in your life accountable that you can impact. Impact your sphere of influence, as I like to call it, and impact that. And then realize that as you grow, either if you put content out or if you do it just in life and grow your community and grow your family and other aspects, as you continue to control your sphere of influence, you'll find that it grows organically around you. And the more you do it, the larger sphere of influence you have, and the more people you can positively impact. So go out, be courageous today, stop being sick of this shit, and let's all start doing this shit with each other. Thanks everybody for coming today. It's been a wonderful hour of poetry reading. And to recap real quick, I read three poems today from B's Free Verse, True Verse, Air of Supremacy, Rising Through the Shadows, and the Politics of Optics. And then I read five poems that I have written, four in the Journey of Morality series: A Rotting Pack, Rabid with Hate, Feral Fools, and A Feature Not a Bug. And then finally, a special poem from after giving thanks after my son had broken his arm and giving back to the community for the care and love was Dawning of the Light. And so thank you everyone for joining today. Thank you, B, for being here and letting me read some of your poetry. I look forward to doing it again and again. If anybody else has poems that they are looking to put out or have put out, let me know. See, I like finding new people. Let's find the next great poet out there. Let's find the next great poems out there and song verses and create the music and the experience that we all need to get through this. So again, thanks everyone for being here. Beth, it's okay that you missed today. Rewatch this one. You'll enjoy the poems. And I look forward to seeing all of you again later. Look forward to tomorrow on Banner and Backbone, when we'll be doing a couple shows for the Anti-Fascist Book Club and a special interview with This Will Hold around election integrity in the United States and what we should be looking out for, what happened in Tennessee the last week, I believe it was, in the special election, and what has happened in the previous elections and how we should be guarding and looking out for things, and what we should be doing to push back against it. So look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. Look out for the show notes, and I will see you all again next week on Chronically Illing Out Monday morning. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day.